and welcome back to my channel. My name is Michaela and I just really want to help you enjoy motherhood and thrive in your life as a mom. So we talk about all things motherhood mindset, habits and hobbies and stuff like that, life as a mom and how we can simplify it to find more joy and more peace. And today we're going to talk about reading as a mom, how to make time for it, what I like to read as a mom, why you should read too, all that good stuff. If you already love to read, hopefully you've already grabbed a copy of File Time Take Back. This is my new devotional for toddler moms to help you get back in God's Word. It's full of practical tips and encouragement for this season raising toddlers, and as you can see, it's nice and small and approachable. Each day is just a couple of pages. That's one day right there. So it's very, like I said, small, approachable. You can keep this next to some of your other books and just read one little devotion before you read your fiction book or whatever book you're reading that day. I also wanted to mention, if you're sitting here watching this and thinking, ooh, I should really get up and do the dishes, but I'm gonna finish this video first, I also make these in podcast format, so I will link that down below. You can just throw me on in your ears on Spotify and go do whatever you need to get done. Okay, so let's talk about hobbies for a second, because what is this world coming to? A video came up the other day. I was sitting with my husband. He was scrolling, I don't know, Facebook shorts or something. Is that what they're called? And a video came up about red flag hobbies. Apparently guys are rating women's top red flag hobbies and women are rating men's top red flag hobbies, but all of the things this video listed were not even hobbies. The number one for both genders, going to the bar and clubbing. I'm sorry, that's not a hobby. One of the other ones listed was gossiping. Like, I'm sorry, these things are not hobbies. I looked it up to see if I'm the crazy one here. The internet defines hobbies as something one does in their leisure time for pleasure. So in theory, you could say sitting around gossiping is a hobby. But that I find heartbreaking, because when I think hobby, I think creating something or doing something that's contributing to the world, or at least your soul, in a positive way. I've always been so awkward about the hobby question. Like when someone asks me what my hobbies are, it's hard to answer, but I didn't know this whole time. I could have just been saying doom scrolling. I love wasting time on my phone. If all your hobbies right now are red flag hobbies, I would encourage you to start reading, start doing something that's at least going to better your mind. But that is a big why for me, why I want to read as a mom. I'm not always able, especially in busy seasons of motherhood, to pull out a project to create something or bake a new recipe or something like that, or get outside gardening. It's winter right now. So reading is an amazing hobby that actually fits in the cracks of motherhood really well and is actually bettering my life. I love reading on my Kindle because I don't want to store a ton of books. I don't want to ruin a ton of books. Books get ruined in this house a lot. I don't want to lose books all over the place. I don't want to spend a ton of money on books, but I love reading on my Kindle because it's just this one little device. I typically always know where it is. It's funny, it's become like my phone, like you always know where your phone is. That's not true. I lose my phone all the time, but you kind of take it with you from room to room, whatever you're doing. And my Kindle is like that too. It just like goes right with my phone these days. So I always have all my books right at my fingertips. I can switch back and forth. I can read a chapter of the Bible and then start reading my book. I can read a devotional. Oh, you can also get Bible Time Take Back on Kindle. It's $2.99, by the way. I made it the lowest possible price because I want it to be very accessible to you. I love reading on Kindle, and also in the bath, in bed. It's just easier sometimes to hold this than it is to hold a book with two hands, especially if I'm reading as I'm falling asleep. And then if I do fall asleep while I'm reading, it doesn't lose my page. It's all right there when I open it back up. So highly recommend Kindle if you've never considered it. It's also perfect for those nighttime feeding sessions. You can make it backlit. You can kind of tell I have it set to like number 1, the very faintest light you can have, but then it just has a tiny bit of light so that if you're up at night feeding your baby, you don't have to actually turn on a light. Or if your husband is trying to go to sleep next to you and he doesn't want the lights on, again, you don't have to have a light on, or you don't have to wake up and turn off the light after you fall asleep reading. So Kindle Unlimited, I think it's about $11 a month here in Canada, and basically anything that's on Kindle Unlimited, you can read for free. I end up reading probably, I would say, at least 6 books a month. And if I were to buy all of those books, even if they were cheap, even if they were $3.99, which I typically wait until books go on sale on Kindle to buy them. So even if they were $3.99, I would still be spending a lot more buying each of those books than just reading on Kindle Unlimited. So that's why I'm a huge fan of Kindle and Kindle Unlimited. I like to read a wide variety of things. I like to read a lot of nonfiction books. I made a video a little while ago, 12 books that changed my life. Those are all great nonfiction books that will help you learn something new and help you genuinely improve your life as a mom. But I also really like to read fiction, especially during my rest time. I love reading a good fiction, a good cheesy love story. But I made the decision probably about a year ago now. I had been just kind of reading whatever love stories popped up on Kindle Unlimited, and I realized at the end I was always so angry because, man, people just do not understand love and relationships from a Christian perspective. And at the end of pretty much every book, I would go to my husband and just rant for ages about why this book was so annoying and they didn't get it. And often the problem was the characters would be lying to each other, or they would be too ashamed and embarrassed to actually just tell each other how they felt anyways, or just ranting about how these books were going to give young women a false perception of love and what it needs to be and what actually matters in a loving relationship. So anyways, I was just deeply disappointed by those. And also, it's hard to vet your books properly if you're just reading whatever's free on Kindle Unlimited. I kept coming across books with really explicit content, and I don't want to be reading that. Like, sorry, I'll just go have my own sex. I don't want to read about yours. But sometimes it's hard to know ahead of time what is actually in a book. So anyways, that was a long way to say I made the decision to switch to reading Christian fiction. And honestly, I'm so glad I did that, because I find these books typically have a positive message, and instead of ending the book and being mad that people are portraying love in a weird way, I end the book feeling just happy and at peace. And also sometimes I learn something new, or I'm reminded of something in my faith. So some of my favorite authors when it comes to fiction, I've been kind of looking to see who I can get free on Kindle Unlimited. I've been reading a lot of Karen Kingsbury books. I love her books, which is so funny. I remember my mom reading those when I was a kid. She has a bunch of full series on Kindle Unlimited. I've also been really liking Valerie M. Bowden. She has a full series of like 10 books that I just read. And then I've been reading this new series that I just found. She's a part of it. She wrote, I think, the last book in it. But it's called Love on Sanctuary Island. And basically each book is written by a different author. So now I'm excited because I'm going to go check out all those authors and see what they've written, because I felt like I was kind of coming to the end of great Christian books on Kindle Unlimited. If you have a Christian fiction writer that you love, let me know in the comments and I will check to see if I can read some of their books for free. Okay, now let's get into the how. How do I read so much as a mom of really young kids? Well, it's like anything. I feel like a broken record lately. You make time for the things that are important to you, right? Sometimes we use time as a excuse when really it's not a time issue, it's an issue of priorities. There are some things I don't do that give me a ton of time to read on my Kindle. So I don't use social media. I even just disabled, should I tell you this? YouTube on my phone, because I kept getting stuck in the shorts section. I love a good long form video, but I don't want to get stuck scrolling through shorts. That's just a waste of my time. I don't use social media, and that gives me time and space, so much time and space in my day to read or to get things done during the day, so that when evening hits and my kids are in bed, then I can read my books. A really good tip I heard for stay-at-home moms, I want to say Sally Clarkson said this, I could be wrong, but someone I was listening to recently said, work when you're working and rest when you're resting. And I think honestly, it's our phones that blur that line so much for us. We think we're being productive going on to order the groceries, and then suddenly we're looking at other people's babies on Instagram. But I find deleting everything fun off my phone allows me to work when I'm working and rest when I'm resting, and that means when I'm resting, I have more time to read books. I also don't watch TV in the evening. I talked about this on my screen time habits video. We actually still do not have a TV set up in our living room, so just not having it readily available saves me oodles of time. I actually have time in the evening to read. Another thing I don't do, I don't stress out over managing my home. I don't have super high standards, not gonna lie. Everything gets done, but it gets done in a way that allows our home to actually serve us and not make me feel like a slave to our home. There are just certain tasks I'm not willing to be a perfectionist over. I also don't cook every day, and on the days that I'm not cooking a big dinner, on the days that we're having leftovers, those are the days I might choose to bake bread or make mayonnaise or little projects like that. So I always have something to do in the kitchen, but I'm not slaving over making a full dinner every night. So not doing those things frees up a lot of time and space. I also just don't pack our schedule. I'm naturally an introvert and a homebody, and I find since having kids, I do need more socialization than I did before, but I still want to have, 2, maybe 3 outings per week. That's plenty. so that I actually have time to rest and read and just manage my home in a way that feels peaceful. So I'm not gonna go into this too much more because I did just make a whole video about how I rest as a mom, and I talk about reading a lot in that because my main form of rest other than sleep is reading right now. So I'll link that video down below too. You can go watch it, or I'll link the podcast for you. But I think it's really important as moms to have hobbies that are filling our cup and enriching our souls, hobbies other than doom scrolling and clubbing. Are any of you out there clubbing as moms? I doubt it. We don't have time for that. Reading is such a good one to fit into our life. So let me know in the comments if you love to read. What are you reading these days? Give me some recommendations, and if you want to stick around here, definitely hit subscribe and send this video to a friend that you think it might bless. Thank you so much for watching.